So let's talk about something we've all been through. Why is it so incredibly hard to change someone's mind online? In that wild world of comment sections and feeds. Today, we're going to dig into the actual science behind why those arguments can feel so impossible.
Right? You know that feeling. You've got your facts lined up, your logic is airtight, but the person on the other end of the screen, they just won't budge, not an inch. If you've ever felt like you're just shouting into the void, trust me, you are not alone.
And look, this isn't just a feeling we get. It's a real, documented thing. Scientists, like the folks at the Alan Turing Institute, have shown time and time again that our resistance to changing our minds is, well, it's a deep-seated part of what makes us human.
Okay, let's really get into this, because this idea is a total game changer. We usually think of someone being stubborn as a flaw, right? A failure in their thinking. But what if I told you it's not a bug in our human programming? What if it's actually a feature?
That's right. This whole thing is way less about spreadsheets and logic and much more about biology. See, when our brain encounters something that challenges our worldview, its first job isn't to figure out if it's true. Its first job is to figure out if it's a threat. It's that ancient "is this new berry going to kill me" kind of wiring. And we've all got it.
And that survival instinct leads us straight into the arms of this little thing called confirmation bias. Basically, our brains are hardwired to be loyal to what we already think. You've done this, right? You're in an argument and you Google your point, scrolling past all the links that disagree just to find that one article that says you are right all along? Yeah, that's your confirmation bias at work.
So let's get a little more specific. I want you to picture your brain having its own little internal security system. And when new or challenging information comes along, it can trip a bunch of silent alarms. Let's take a look at what those alarms actually are.
These are the invisible tripwires. I mean, we're naturally afraid of what we don't know, and we find a ton of comfort in what's familiar. But you know what the biggest one is? That last one. Threats to our identity. If a belief is tied to who you are as a person, any argument against it doesn't just feel like a disagreement. It feels like a personal attack.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Psychologists talk about something called the moral force of habit. It means our brains don't just like the old way of doing things, they actually see it as the right way, the moral way. Think about something silly, like how to load the dishwasher. If someone tells you you're doing it wrong, a tiny part of your brain feels like they're not just correcting you, they're judging you. That's it, in miniature.
So how can we possibly keep track of all these different triggers? Well, there's this amazing tool called the SCARF model from David Rock. It's like a secret decoder ring for our social brain, breaking it down into 5 key areas our brain is constantly scanning.
First up, S is for status. You see, an online argument often has very little to do with the facts. Under the surface, it's an unconscious fight for social standing. Being proven wrong in public, to our brain, that can feel like a direct hit to our status, so it goes on the defensive.
Next, C is for certainty. Our brains are, and I mean this in the best way possible, lazy. They want to save energy by running on autopilot with patterns they already know. Uncertainty, on the other hand, takes a ton of mental effort. Our brain sees that as inefficient and even a little dangerous, so we cling to beliefs that make the world feel predictable.
Then we've got A for autonomy. We have this deep biological need to feel like we're in the driver's seat. So when someone comes at us, aggressively pushing their ideas on us, we're not just resisting the idea, we're resisting that feeling of being controlled, of having our own choice taken away.
R for relatedness is a huge one. Our brains are constantly sorting people into us and them, friend or foe. Agreeing with our tribe, our group, feels safe. It literally releases reward chemicals in our brain. But disagreeing? That carries the risk of being cast out, which to our ancient brain is a life-or-death threat.
And finally, F for fairness. If we feel like an argument is totally one-sided, that the other person isn't listening or they're fighting dirty, that fairness alarm in our brain just starts blaring. And once that happens, our ability to listen openly pretty much shuts down completely.
Okay, so we have this ancient brain wiring. Now, how does it all hold up in the 21st century? Let's talk about the elephant in the room, social media. Because if our brains came with all these built-in triggers, well, social media platforms have basically built a remote control for every single one.
And this is the part we really need to get. These platforms are not neutral public squares. No way. They are meticulously designed environments. If you've ever wondered why you can't seem to stop scrolling, it's not some personal failure of willpower. It's because the entire system is built to hook directly into the threat and reward wiring we've been talking about.
And here's where that ancient wiring meets modern technology. Our deep need for status gets fed by likes, shares, and follower accounts. Our brain's craving for certainty gets a 5-star meal from algorithmic feeds that only show us things we already agree with. And that powerful need for relatedness, it gets amplified by creating these super tight digital tribes that often depend on an us versus them mindset to stay strong.
So listen, the most important thing to understand is that the echo chamber isn't a glitch in the system, it's the main feature. These platforms know we find uncertainty uncomfortable, so they build these perfect, cozy bubbles of agreement that make us feel safe and right. But the side effect is that any view from outside that bubble starts to feel more jarring, more alien, and way more threatening than it ever has before.
So what on earth are we supposed to do about all this? It can feel pretty hopeless, but we are not powerless here. The first step is just knowing this stuff. And the next is building a little mental toolkit so we can consciously take back control when we're online.
Okay, here's the plan. First, next time you feel that flash of anger online, just notice it. Acknowledge it's just your brain's old security system going off. Then, you've got to intentionally pop your own bubble. It's uncomfortable at first, for sure, but you gotta seek out smart people who disagree with you. Next, become an algorithm detective. Ask yourself, why am I seeing this? Is this here to inform me or just to make me angry? This next one is huge. Try to separate your ideas from your identity. An attack on your opinion is not an attack on you. And finally, change the goal. Try going into a conversation not to win, but just to understand where the other person is coming from. And this really brings it all together, doesn't it? When you run into resistance, either in someone else or even in yourself, try to see it not as a failure, but as feedback. It's a flashing light telling you that a core need for something like safety or certainty or fairness just isn't being met. And understanding that, well, that's where real communication actually begins. So, I'll just leave you with this one thought to chew on. In a digital world that is literally engineered to give us the comfort of non-stop agreement, we have to ask ourselves a tough question. Are we really using these tools to think? Or have we just settled for the easy dopamine hit of agreeing? The choice, as always, is up to us.